discussed. Clarity, even in bad news, is kind. Clarity is kindness. And as a leader, that's important. You have to be willing to give your people that clarity. And that can help alleviate your own fear because you know exactly what's being said and exactly how it's being said. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to our discussion on the empathic leader and empathic leadership. I really appreciate you being here and helping me use this channel to flesh out all of the information that I have on empathic leadership and EQ via empathy. I'm very excited to announce that because of the latitude I've had on this channel and being able to work through these concepts, I will have a book coming out in the fall. And I will have more information about that as we go. But stay tuned because I'm very excited that you helped me put this together. So for today's discussion, I want to take a little deeper dive in on fear and how that plays against empathy. We've had one discussion on courage and how you can use courage to make your empathy even stronger and even more activated and useful. But I actually want to look at the flip side of that today, and actual fear, how that limits you as the empathic leader. This kind of breaks down into two kinds of fear, two main kinds of fear that I've seen in leadership. And so in this and our next discussion, we'll dive in a little deeper on that. The one I really want to look at today is the fear of not being seen as a leader, the fear of vulnerability. Why is this important? Because as leaders, when you're put in that position where you feel you're meant to be strong and you're meant to be solid and you're meant to be the person with the vision that's unwavering, sometimes leaders feel a little weird, a little scared about allowing any chinks in the armor to show. And this can be a real problem. And what it comes down to is vulnerability. In her book, Atlas of the Heart, Brené Brown specifically says that vulnerability is the first thing we look for in other people, but the last thing that we want to show in ourselves. And I think there's a lot to be said for this, especially for people in leadership positions, because without that vulnerability, you can't make human-to-human contact. And without that human-to-human contact, you're done. As a leader, it just doesn't work. That's how you end up making some of the egregious mistakes that leaders make, like firing the lady who just had cancer, like refusing to give enough money to have a cost of living raise to your employees because you don't even see what their plight is. You've got to have your humanity close to you if you want to actually be an effective leader. It's just that important. So this fear of vulnerability, where does it come from? We as human beings will put up barriers against our own safety. That's what we do, especially if we've been mangled or hurt before. Now understand, this is very different than the concept of setting up boundaries. As a leader, and especially an empathic one, you have got to be good with your boundaries. You have got to set boundaries, and you've got to stick to those boundaries. You can have empathy and still have healthy boundaries. You can do both. But barriers are something else. Barriers don't allow anything in. And nobody respects those kinds of leaders. Nobody wants to actually follow them. And it doesn't matter how charismatic you are. It doesn't matter how good you are with the budget numbers. It doesn't matter what kind of face you can put on. Those are not the leaders that people follow. In order to make sure that that fear is not there, you're going to have to get comfortable with showing your vulnerability. And that may mean being able to say, I don't know. Or, this COVID pandemic snuck up on us all and none of us know what to do right now. Or, I'm really sorry that your performance review went down like this. Let's talk about strategies, how we might make it better. You've got to be willing to say, I don't know. The other thing you have to be very, very willing to do is to alleviate the fear of other people. And one of the main reasons or main ways that you can do this is by being super, super clear in your communication. A lot of leaders, in order to avoid that vulnerability, will give the wishy-washy answers. The, well, maybe this or maybe that, or yeah, no, we'll talk about it later, and then later never comes. Or, well, we'll have to discuss that in length at a later date without any belief that this is ever going to be discussed. Clarity, even in bad news, is kind. Clarity is kindness, and as a leader, that's important. You have to be willing to give your people that clarity. And that can help alleviate your own fear because you know exactly what's being said and exactly how it's being said. Next session, we're going to talk more about the other instigator of fear in leadership and what you can do about it.